record, and we'll fill for a minute, and then I'll go back into that story. Yay! Dark, wake up, or don't. It's up to you, really.
I will try my best to actually wake up.
Like Mike and Brian have something to talk about. I have something to talk about. Dirk hasn't said anything.
I've said stuff.
I mean, about like what to talk about. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you were gonna mention that one thing.
that's right.
Yeah, look at that one thing.
That being, always look on the.
Oh
Never
no,
mind, we
shut
get
up. Kicking Dirk.
demonetized.
Kicking Dirk. Okay, so hello everybody. Welcome to A Dorks Just Chatting, episode 4. What is today? The 9th of February,
Yes.
2023. Or if you want to get super technical, today is March the 1075th, 2020. And yeah, I'm Chewy, and I'm not dead. And I have these other dorks here. And who are you people?
I'm Brian. I'm also not dead. Um, Usually I'm the lead tangent master. Wow, am I really losing it today? It's a good thing this is
Mm-hmm.
not like a super serious episode or anything.
Thank
But I went
goodness.
to a pre-release, and I'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Mike. I'm the rules guy and the game lore guy, and I was at the same pre-release event that Brian went to, so I'll have some things to say about that as well.
On purpose, or was that an amazing coincidence?
On purpose.
That's
We did
amazing.
plan it.
And I'm Dirk, the self-proclaimed greenest man alive and moral compass of the group. And I did not go to a pre-release, but I
Hey,
want to
me
talk about
too.
something else.
I also did not go to a pre-release. I don't even remember what I did this weekend. Is that bad?
Nah.
Depends on your state of mind.
I think it's because I died on Tuesday, so
That would do it.
yeah, it
Let's
might.
take a
I'm
little
pretty
while to
sure.
come back from that.
I got better. So, yeah, we were just talking before I hit record about wow, we took 2 weeks off, and the first week we took off was because Brian was at the ER before all day and all night. Uh, Everybody's fine now, so nobody panic. But they managed to remove the object uh, from Brian's orifice without any sort of complications. That was a joke. There were complications, but and Mike was like, "Well, let me know if we're doing a show because I'm probably gonna have to do more work." And I'm like, "Well, that's two. We're good. We'll just take it off." And then the next week, I had pulled so in previous weeks I pulled a muscle in my back that's like right beneath my shoulder blades, so there's freaking nothing I could do about it on the left side. And it was awful. Like I delayed starting to stream Resident Evil 4 because it was one of those muscle pulls where every few minutes I'm going to be going ha while I'm streaming, and I decided I didn't want to start Resident Evil 4 like that. That's just awful. And like I had on I think on Wednesday of last week, I felt the same muscle pull on the right side. And I went, "Oh, come on, man." And I could feel it getting worse and worse and worse and worse as time progressed. And when I say time, I mean like 40 minutes. I
Yeah.
couldn't work it out. I couldn't stretch it in a way that alleviated anything. No matter what I do, it got worse. And I said, "You know what? I'm going to take a muscle relaxer and nip this in the bud because I'm almost certain." So, okay. Mom had given me a couple of muscle relaxers because I am prone to pulling muscles in my back. And the old man, uh, when he would pull a muscle in his back, Mom would give him like half of a Flexeril, and he would sleep for 2 days. Mom can take a Flexeril and like drive to work. So I didn't know where on the spectrum there I fell. I figure it was somewhere between those two extremes. And I'm pretty sure at some point I took one in the past and had like no, I didn't sleep all day. I had no problem. And I was like, hey, I'm more like Mom and less like the old man with the muscle relaxers. Awesome. So when I felt this pull, I was like, nope, nope, I'm going to nip this in the bud before it gets bad. And I took one and proceeded to sleep through Wednesday and some of Thursday, which Thursdays are when we do the show, you know. And I managed to like get up enough energy to go DoorDash on Thursday. And then I got back and was wiped out. I'm like, I can't do it this week, y'all. I'm dying. I'm just gonna sit on the couch and sleep. And they were like, I mean, okay. So so I'll be damned if I was gonna be the reason we missed 2 weeks in a row. Cause I mentioned this briefly on Twitter and way more, and I've been chronicling this as it happens on in the Discord. But like, I got sick and died Monday night. Like I killed my Resident Evil 4 stream super early. Not super early, but like half an hour early. Because I was feeling queasy, which is not really a thing for me. And it just never got better. And around about 3:30 that morning, I broke a streak that I've had for probably well over a decade. And that streak was not having to vomit. And it was awful. 0 out of 10. Do not recommend. Literally unplayable. And yeah, it was bad. And over the course of the next, let's see, so from about 3:30 till about I think it was around noonish, I was either opening up the sluice at one end or the other, or having fitful, not restful sleep in various places around my apartment. I told the dorks after one particularly bad session of both one sluice and then the other, I woke up sitting cross-legged in the bathroom floor with my face on my fist. And I woke up and I was like, this won't do. And I went to lay down. I'm like, oh, it's the bathroom floor. That's gross. So dragged myself out into the hallway on the carpet and passed out in the floor outside the bathroom. And then woke up like 2 hours later, which was amazing because it was the most sleep I'd had at that point. I think that was from like 6:30 to 7:30 to 8:30 or something like that. 7:30 to 9. It was something like that. And I woke up and looked at the time and was like, oh my God, time passed. That's amazing. And then, and I had to get up and go do both, horrible things again. And then I dozed off with my fist on my face, or my face on my fist like this again. And I was like, wait, no. And this time I dragged myself all the way to the living room floor and covered up with a blanket. Passed out for like another 2 hours. And it was amazing. I think this was well after I had texted Amanda. And I was like, Amanda, I really hate to do this. Could you, when you take the kid to school, could you please bring me some ginger ale? Because that's all I know is, throwing up, drink ginger ale. Because I hadn't had to experience this for, a significant percentage of my stupid life. And so she was like, yeah, she brought me ginger ale. And I'm sure I looked like death. I was sitting on the couch. I did text you at 4:40 a.m. Yeah, see? And at that point, I'd been dealing with it for an hour. And it wasn't getting any better. So, yeah, when... I do remember when she brought... I like, at one point, I got up and unlocked the door on the way to the bathroom. And I think I look like death because I was on the couch with the recliner up with a blanket on me, just like, because at that point, I still hadn't slept.
Mm-hmm.
And she brought me ginger ale. And my brain wasn't functioning because I remember her saying, "What do you want me to do with this ginger ale?" And I was like, "What kind of a dumbass question? Bring it to me." And I was like, "What?" And she goes, "Do you want it in the fridge?" And I'm like, "I want it in my hand." And she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh, the bottle." Yeah, and the fridge is fine. Like, I could not conceive of the question that she was asking me.
Man.
And I felt like my old man when he gets really sick because she went to hand me the glass of ginger ale, and I remember very distinctly I just pointed at the TV tray. I was like, And yeah, she had her mask on and everything, which thank goodness, because
Mm-hmm.
I had wanted to text her and be like, for God's sake, put on a mask when you're coming in. But I didn't have the mental wherewithal to do that. And when she came in with a mask, I'm like, "I'm so glad you're wearing a mask because this is what I meant to tell you, to put on a mask." And she's like, "Okay." But like, the way I don't remember much of anything about. Well, I remember the things that I was able to write in the Discord because I
Yeah.
was like, I will never remember any of this. So I did have enough brain power to be like, here's what's happening, and then I would pass out. But like in between the moments of clarity and the vomiting and the diarrhea, like I was, it was all a jumble,
Mm-hmm.
and I had random bits of things that I had experienced recently in my head just bouncing around. So okay, to jump forward some, when I tried to go to bed the next night,
Yeah.
I had one line from Crazy by Gnarls Barkley. Uh, what is it? Maybe your emotions had an echo in so much space.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I remember that kept popping up in my weird, like, half awake, half asleep. What I'm getting at is I had a very high fever the whole time and didn't know it because felt so bad in every other way that it didn't occur to me that I had a fever. And I was afraid to put a thermometer in my mouth, because I'd been throwing up all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't find that out until about 9 o'clock Tuesday night. And it was 102.3. And I went,
Gosh.
that makes a lot of sense. Because,
Mhm.
like, anytime I wasn't, like I said, either in the act of horrible things happening or uh, those moments of clarity, it was just a jumble of nonsense. Like, I watched a YouTube video where there's this dude, I can't remember the channel's name off the top of my head. I'll look that up. But where the dude is going around in various video games and determining the unemployment rate in various cities. And it's really good stuff. Like, he's very dry and very funny. And it was, here we go. N.A. Austin is his name. I've been watching those as they come out. And then I played Resident Evil 4, and then that one line from the song. So in these weird ass fever dreams, Leon from Resident Evil 4 was walking around, like, measuring things and interviewing people.
Like
And
you
then
to
he
do.
would stop in, like, an open area, and I would hear, maybe your emotions had an echo in so much space. And I was like, dude. And then I felt like someone who just smoked weed for the first time. I assume. I have to admit, I've never actually done that. And then I would get up and go throw up again. Well, no, at that point I'd stopped that, but I would have to get up and go do the other thing again, and it was awful. That didn't stop until this morning. I lost 10 pounds, roughly, over the course of this happening. About 6 or 7 of those were in the first few hours because, again, I had the mental wherewithal to hop on the scale after each session and notice the number going down and be like, oh, that's not good. And then Kristen brought me anti dehydration stuff. She brought me Did you guys know Pedialyte makes freezer pops?
Yes, but
Oh
I have
yeah,
a
well
kid,
you have a
so-
kid, so that makes sense. Yeah, I didn't even know what Pedialyte was, honestly. But she brought me Pedialyte drink things. You put in water, and Pedialyte freezer pops because I at that point I don't think she knew that I had stopped vomiting, but I still wasn't eating. And yeah. Oh, and she brought me some anti-nausea and anti-diarrheal stuff, which the anti-nausea stuff at that point was, it was that fast acting, take it every 30 minutes, whether you puke it up or not.
Mm-hmm.
But like, at that point, it was too late for that. But I don't think I had told her that because I was still in and out most of the day. But she just bought all that and dropped it outside the door and took a picture like it was DoorDash and left. And was like, hey, go outside and get this when you wake up. And I was like, half an hour later, I was like, oh, look, a phone. And I picked it up and there was a picture of my front door. And I'm like, that's weird. Oh, it's from Kristen. What? And like another half an hour later, I managed to drag myself over to the front door. It's not far from the couch to the front door. That's the sad part.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, look, a goodie bag. And yeah, so long story, slightly less long. I died, I'm pretty sure. I had a horrible fever and lost like 10 pounds. And yeah, thanks to Amanda and Kristen for bringing me life-saving things. On Tuesday, no, Tuesday I'd ate nothing. On Wednesday, which was yesterday, I had almost all of a sleeve of saltines, and I think 2, maybe 3 of the course of the day freezer pops, and a cup of applesauce. And that's all I had to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And I drank over the course of the whole day, I think 2 glasses of ginger ale and 2 glasses of Pedialyte mix, I think. And that was way better than Tuesday, where I had nothing but some ginger ale and some of a glass of Pedialyte. Maybe. It's sort of all blurring together now. But yeah, on Wednesday, which again was yesterday, which is blowing my mind to say that out loud. Like I felt awful. And it was such a massive improvement over the previous day that I keep saying this, I'm genuinely concerned for how sick I was on Tuesday. Like a lot. Like I really think that if Amanda hadn't brought me ginger ale, I wouldn't have drank anything. And if Kristen hadn't brought me Pedialyte, especially the freezer pops, I wouldn't have had anything to put in my stomach. And I think that helped a lot with the potential dehydration too. So, oh, thank you, ladies. And then today, I went to bed right last night, and I was like, okay, I'm already feeling terrible, so let's try to train my brain. I have to have like my iPad on the pillow next to me playing something to go to sleep. I'm like, I'm gonna see if I can use this horrible situation to retrain my brain. So I did not get the iPad because I'm trying to learn to sleep, in silence and calm my unquiet mind.
Mm-hmm.
Which don't recommend when you have a fever, it turns out. Even though, okay, so Tuesday night, I kept having to get up and go to the bathroom, and at some point, while I was sitting on the toilet, just wishing for death, I had a sudden moment of clarity, and I'm like, I feel a lot better than I did just a few minutes ago sitting here. And I think that's when my fever broke.
Hmm.
Because I was like, wow. And then I went back to bed and slept for like 6 hours. I was like, wow. And so I was hoping I would do that again last night. And it didn't. I laid in the bed and I eventually would doze off and then, nope, get up and go to the bathroom. And the last time that happened was at like 6-ish, 6:30. And then I went back to sleep and just crashed. And actually haven't been back to the bathroom for any unpleasantness since. It's been nice. and yeah, so I know I lost my fever at some point today because it was there a little bit and then it wasn't. So I still had a little bit of a fever, but not the horrible, brain frying kind, and now it's gone.
Hmm.
So that's been nice. When I close my eyes, I don't see Leon Kennedy walking around measuring rocks and counting all of the El Gigantes. It's been very weird. Maybe your emotions had an echo in so much space. It felt really deep, y'all.
I mean, yeah, I'm just kind of tripping on it myself.
And
Did Leon look like Leon from the original game or from like the remaster?
I have intentionally not paid any attention to what he looks like in the remaster. So he was straight up his character model from the original, which I was playing, when this hit me on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I finally built up enough energy. I'm like, I'm going to take a shower. And then I'm going to go to the grocery store and get me some transitional food because I realized all I've had to eat is some freezer pops and a sleeve of saltines, which is not enough. And I finally built up the energy and took a shower. While I was in the shower, I was like, this is so great. Oh man, this is good. And then I turned the water off and I went to get out of the shower. While I was drying off, I was like, oh God, I'm going to fall out. I don't know why the act of drying myself off suddenly just drained all the energy out of me. And I called mom. I'm like, I really hate to ask you this. Could you bring me some transitional food? Because I don't have any. She went to the grocery store and brought me bananas and chicken noodle soup, and there were some cans of beanie weenies in there for some reason because I think the old man's having a laugh, and and a box of cereal, Crispix, nice plain basic cereal. I did have a smoothie this morning that was just frozen fruit and oat milk, and as far as smoothies go, it was bland and disgusting. But as far as food that I had eaten, oh my God, it was like the nectar of the gods. I was like, oh, this is not good, but this is so good. So, yeah, I didn't want to put in Greek yogurt. That seemed like a bad idea. I don't know why. It just did. Too heavy. Because I don't think the problem is with the stomach bug anymore. I think the problem is with uh, uh, taking my stomach from nothing to something.
Mm-hmm. Without overdoing it.
Yeah, like it's like okay, all I've had to eat in the last 2 days, whatever. Oh, excuse me. The fact that I can burp without suddenly having to run to the bathroom is amazing. I couldn't burp. By the way, I tried to burp, and I don't know if it was burning, because of all the stomach acid or whatever that I, whatever. But like, I felt a bubble, and I tried to burp, and nothing happened. And I'm like, what do you mean nothing? And and I felt a bigger bubble. You know what I mean by the bubble, and you and oh, thank God. And it just sat there and grew and grew and grew, and it hurt. And finally, I like leaned my head back and jutted my chin forward, and that like reshaped things to where it just came out as a burp, but I didn't burp. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm coherent on that, but like
I'm getting you.
it was terrible. But yeah, so mom brought me chicken noodle soup and stuff, and so I made a bowl of chicken noodle soup, and sat down and like wolfed it down. Did not mean to eat it quickly, but I have had zero side effects from that. So I think tomorrow I might actually eat, get this, multiple meals. I know, right?
No. Wow. I
But
think I
like,
did that once.
it's been bizarre, y'all. And the further I get away from the low point, the lower that low point looks.
That's why you said like you didn't realize how sick you were on Monday until retrospective. Or
Well,
sorry,
Tuesday, but
Tuesday.
yeah.
Tuesday, yeah.
Because at the time it was all fever and vomiting and not sleeping and
Yeah, you were too sick and delirious to realize how bad you were.
yeah. And like looking back in the Discord, like I was charting all this in the Inside Chewy's Mind channel. Uh and I'm amazed at how um coherent some of this was. Granted, I remember especially this one at 328 that says it's been so long since I experienced this that I have no idea what to do now. My everything hurts, I'm shaking, and my throat and sinuses are on fire. Weary face. And I remember that took me so many attempts to actually type out. I'm pretty sure I actually stopped and threw up again in the middle of trying to make that readable.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's been awful, but luckily the women in my life are all very sweet and brought me supplies. Oh. But anyway, I'm hoping I'll actually feel like a human tomorrow. I mean, I showered today. That's a nice help. When mom dropped stuff off, she was wearing her mask. Like she said she was gonna set stuff down and back away, like we did back in the day with COVID. So she knocked on the door, and I like, what? Oh yeah, and I jumped. Well, I didn't jump up, and I got up and staggered over to the door and opened the door, and she was standing right there. So I expleted a word. Starts with a shush, and and it sounds like spit, and jumped because I expected her to be over there. She's standing right in front of me. She's like, I didn't want you to have to bend over to pick this up. I'm like, well, instead, I just crapped a little, so it's fine. But oh, I can have a banana tomorrow morning, y'all. I might have a banana tonight. But anyway. Oh, and apparently, well, I think I sounded like a wraith on Tuesday because I spoke out loud to Mom and Amanda, and I explained it to the guys earlier. I was like, if you've ever seen the Ralph Bakshi animated Lord of the Rings, I'm pretty sure I sounded like one of the the ring wraiths, because they're like, come back to Mordor, we will take you, and I'm pretty sure that's what I sounded like. It was bizarre. I actually like texted Kristen. I'm like, hey, you want to hear how messed up I sound for a minute? She's like, sure. So she called me and I was like, hey. She's like, oh my god. I know, right? This is messed up. She's like, all right, are you alive? I'm like, maybe. But anyway, that's what I've been going through for the last little while. There's been a lot of this stomach bug that I've seen on social media. Well, Facebook mainly. A bunch of people that I know have either gotten this or know someone who's gotten this and are hoping it doesn't get them. Apparently, it hit Sam on Monday. It hit two of Veronica's kids. My property manager here. Someday. Another person I know from college got hit with it, and her kids. and that's just off the top of my head. Mom said there was one that her sister, who works at a nursing home, said it was going around there. So I don't know what's going on, but this is apparently a really nasty stomach bug that is just everywhere. So for God's sake, wash your hands. Anyway, just a public service announcement.
Lessons learned during the last couple years still apply.
Yeah. I have to admit, I stopped obsessively wiping down everything once we found out that it was airborne. I was like, well, because before we had
Yeah.
all that information. Remember you remember wiping your groceries? That's a weird thing now,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Oh, we used to I would leave the groceries out in the garage when I brought them home for 24 hours for a while. And then you once we found out it wasn't, stopped doing that, but I kind of got into the habit for a little bit, you know. So,
Ugh.
yeah. But I still
So
I feel like I am much better about washing my hands after the bathroom. I've tried and like actually doing a good job of actually washing them instead of just like the quick rinse, okay, go.
yeah,
Actually doing that right. So,
I do remember the first thing that Amanda did when she came in was I heard the sink running, and I'm like, why is the sink running for ginger ale? Did she buy some sort of weird mix? What is going on? I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, washing my hands. I was at the grocery store. And I was like, oh, yeah. You were, weren't you? Good show. Huh. But anyway. So, yeah, that's just what I've been dealing with. Somehow I'm still alive. I mentioned that to Bill and Clues this morning, and Bill was like, they should make a song about that. I said, yeah, screw it. Let even let do multiple versions. Let Eddie Vedder have a go. He can mumble through some Still Alive. I think he was referencing GLaDOS, but I had to go to Pearl Jam because Pearl Jam is a euphemism for semen.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I probably shouldn't have said that. I'm still not entirely with it. So that's me. How about the pre-release? How was the pre-release?
pre-release is pretty good. Mike and I went,
Where'd you guys
and
go?
we went to the store in good old Winston-Salem, North Carolina, House of Cards,
Oh,
which
okay.
every time I try to search for it online, um, you
Did you
know,
get hit with Kevin
it
Spacey?
get hit with Kevin Spacey.
Ugh,
Yeah, you got it.
that's
So
not good. How was oh, never mind. I didn't know if you guys would have like gone to Randy's new place or anything to try it out. I don't even
Randy
know
has
if
a
he
new
had a
place.
pre-release.
Yeah, it's called Curry's Collectibles. It's down on uh oh, I'm blanking on which of those streets it's on.
That's okay. The listeners don't
Anyway,
care, and Brian won't remember. So
yeah, it's in Greensboro. It's on some. It's either Market or part of Market or part of Spring Garden, but I'm gonna get them
I
mixed up.
think it's Market.
It's near the license plate office.
Have you been there?
Yeah. Hmm?
Have you been by there?
I was by there not too long ago because I needed to go to the post office over there, but
I meant, have you been into
no,
the shop, you
I haven't been into the shop. No.
Oh, okay. I've
I mean,
seen Serrano keep mentioning trying to get stuff going
yeah.
there. And like he keeps praising how Randy's trying to build a community. I'm like, is this the same Randy that I used to know?
I mean, Randy liked people coming into his shops. Then he could sell them things.
I mean, yeah, but Randy was always, especially once he took over Lucky's, like he sort of pissed off the community aspect of things.
Yeah, he didn't handle that quite right.
So I'm hoping he's grown as an owner
Hmm.
or something. I don't know. I always like Randy for he's a hell of an old crook.
So, but no, we I was not aware of his. I knew of his existence. I was not aware of the existence of his new shop. So we went to the other one. And Mike and I opened our pack And Mike's pull was really interesting. I guess I'll go ahead and talk about my stuff first because I don't know if the jumping back and forth is really distracting or what. But I got some decent stuff. I kind of went back to the whole, hey, who needs mythics approach? And I'm just looking at my rares and I'm like, okay, the sealed rare that everybody gets, the foil one that comes in your pre-release pack was a red white, a red green dual land. These are the quick lands back, the ones that come in tapped unless you have two or a few other lands. Um, Two or few other lands, or two or few. Here, Copperline Gorge. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control two or few other lands. So, which is okay. Nothing wrong with that. And then I'm looking through the rest, and I was like, I didn't feel like I was being pulled in one particular direction, except black. I didn't get any like amazing black, but I drew so much removal. I'm looking at the deck right now. I've got for removal, I have not one, not two, but three. Where is it? Of course, they're gonna be the last three cards in the deck. Three Annihilating Glare. Common card for single black. Destroy target creature or planeswalker as an additional cost. To cast this, pay four, sacrifice an artifact or creature. So I got three of those. I got two Ambulatory Edifice, um, which is a creature, black creature, but when it comes in, you can pay two life. If you do, target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. I ended up activating that only once all day. Like not like once per round, once per day, because people were not running. And I want to hear Mike's story in contrast, but I didn't see people running like tons of small creatures. Even mites, which were a sub theme, I didn't see a whole lot of.
One of my opponents had some. Okay, well, two of my opponents had some might stuff going on, but they weren't like major themes, and I would. There was only one of my opponents who had any substantial number of creatures with one toughness.
I got a copy of Vraska's Fall, which is an edict for three instant, which the Annihilating Glares were sorcery, so I had to kind of keep that into account. But Vraska's Fall is an instant. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker and gets a poison counter. So had a little bit of a proliferate thing going on as well. Um, and so it was almost entirely black with a light splash of green. Um, Not heavy on the toxic, but I did win a couple games that way. Um, because of just as Mike and I had talked about prior to playing, we didn't know that toxic feels much more balanced than infect, and we didn't think this was more of like a rush strategy in this set, but more of an
Mm-hmm.
inevitability um, strategy, which I appreciate. Both enabling um, the keyword that I'm looking for, corrupted, but also just okay. Both players are kind of stalled, and thanks to if somebody at least has some poison and you get enough proliferate, you can get there. And I also had a very good comment that I did want to mention real quick on that front. That being the Phyrexian Atlas. For 3 mana, it's a mana rock. It's common. Tap it to add 1 mana of any color. However, it has an it has corrupted. You guys remember Prismatic Talisman from
Mm,
Mirrodin?
was that the one where you tap
What?
to gain a life? Like add a
It
mana
you
and gain a life?
three. I think it costs three, and you tap it for either a mana of any color, or it may even just be a colorless
It was
mana. But
colorless, and you gain one life. Yeah.
and you gain 1 life, and
Hey,
I
that's what I
used
said.
and you gain 1 life. You get both the mana and the life, but
Yeah.
I used it in so many decks because it was just value. This is the anti pristine talisman. Corrupted. Whenever Phyrexian Atlas becomes tapped, each opponent who has three or more poison counters loses 1 life. And
Yeah.
when you're tapping it for 1 mana of any color, that honestly Like this drew more than one naturalize, which is probably appropriate. And in one game, actually locked me out. I ended up losing because I had like every green card in the deck, which is only 3 or 4 green cards, and my Atlas was gone, and I couldn't get a forest to save my life. A forest or a I did
Bastard
get a
trait.
rare. I did get a rare the Seed Core, which can tap for 1 mana of any color, spend it only to cast Phyrexian creature spells, and my green creatures were all Phyrexian. Um, and then I've got some just recursion with Unnatural Restoration, which is like a regrowth with Proliferate. Regrowth for a permanent card in Proliferate. And Vat Emergence for 5, it's a Zombify and Proliferate. So honestly, I was pretty happy with it. Lots of destruction, a little bit of recursion, enough enough value, I guess, to just keep things going. And the I had a Venser puppet, so I splashed blue just for that, and I had a Terramorphic Expanse in the Seed Core, and so I was able to make that work. But did you guys talk about Venser Corpse Puppet while I was gone? Because,
I mean, that's a yeah, we did.
yeah, okay. So, little, little upset about what they did to my boy Venser there, but
Right.
I
I'm
think
pretty sure what I
that's,
said was this is just disrespectful to the character and to the players.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But there were two. I'm gonna finish up my deck analysis. There's 2 cards that I want to talk about. One is an uncommon, and one is a rare. And the uncommon one, Mike and I were talking about after the whole thing was done, which is he didn't even he was like, wow, he didn't even realize it had this stat line. It looks a little unremarkable, but for the cost, it's really good. Canker Bloom for 1 and a green. It is a Phyrexian fungus creature.
Because of course it is.
Because of course it is, and it's an uncommon, as I said, and it's a 3/2 for 2,
Yeah, which I
and
didn't realize.
yeah,
Wait, say
and
that again?
it's a 3/2 for 2,
Jesus.
and it has pay 1, sacrifice Canker Bloom, choose 1, destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, proliferate
Huh.
or proliferate. Choose one of those. Clutch. I wish I had had more than one, but there was at least one game where I sacked it and then used one of my recursions to get it back. Because the threat there this is not like the Brothers War where there's a ton of artifacts, but there are a decent amount. The any sort of, potential sack to naturalize is pretty good. And there was one game where I attacked, waited for blockers, um he was gonna go up to 9 poison, and so I sacked for the proliferate, and he's like, okay, good job. So that Canker Bloom at uncommon, very good. And then the other one is a rare. I don't know if you guys talked about this one or not, because I have not gone back and listened to the episode yet. Did you guys talk
How
about
dare.
I know, I'll get around to it. Did you talk about the Masticore in this set?
I didn't even know there
You
was
know,
a Masticore
no,
in the set.
we didn't get around
Uh,
to talking about the Masticore.
So, Argentum Masticore. Nice to see a little bit of the Argentum here. For 5 mana, it is a 5/5 artifact creature, Phyrexian Manticore, and it is rare. It has first strike and protection from multicolored. The protection from multicolored did not matter for me in any of my games,
Excuse me.
but it is a 5/5 with first strike. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Argentum Masticore unless you discard a card, because it's a Masticore, right? This is what Masticores do.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, my headphones just gave me an auto shutdown enabled. Everybody heard what I said?
Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
Because that was really weird. Okay, so it's a Masticore, makes you discard. Sorry.
Self-destruct sequence initiated.
That's basically what it sounded like, and it was loud. Holy crap. My Masticore's going to blow up.
These
But
headphones will
it,
self destruct in 30 seconds.
if you choose to accept, this paper will blow up. But sacrifice it unless you discard a card. Now, when you discard a card this way, Destroy target non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value less than or equal to the mana value of the discarded card.
Oh.
I know.
That's
It's
that's
great.
just that's just dumb.
Oh.
Yeah,
What's the stat line on that again?
5/5 for 5, first strike.
Oh.
Yeah, for the first half of the tournament, I never drew it, and then in round three, I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is in the deck," and then I proceeded to draw it like every game, and I won. My record, I went, I won the first round, lost the second, although it was very close. He played a very good deck. Won the third round and won the fourth, so 3-1. And
Nice.
everybody except for my last round opponent was playing some form of black, just black everywhere. And at least two of those rounds they were playing black green. So very just a lot of value to those colors, especially in this set. But again, had a lot of fun. Um, Deck worked pretty well despite not having. I mean, the Master Core is the bomb to be sure, but no planeswalkers. Did actually fight through Anissa, although that was my second. No, that was my first round opponent actually, and I did win that round, but it was tough. It was very tough. We were both like, he was also black green, and our first couple creature plays were the same. So he had a Nissa. I didn't, but I managed to get enough through. So I will say, Mike, what was our reaction when we were opening the packs? Not the cards, but like the physical cards.
I mean, I had noticed this before at the Dominaria United pre-release, but they like felt weird and waxy. You know, there has to be, they have to get these things from like a totally different manufacturer that they use for their other products because the cards are just different. They feel different. I remember I put some pictures up on the
They smell different.
yeah, I remember I put some pictures
Seriously.
up on the Discord of my Dominaria United cards where I had just kind of roughly sorted them, and you could see like stripes along when looking at them on Edge, where okay, these are the ones from the pre-release pack. These are the ones from the set boosters I won. Here's another stripe of pre-release pack. Here's another stripe of set booster cards. There's something about them, and the backs of the cards are noticeably darker than cards that come from other sources. Like I was like, oh dang, I forgot sleeves. You know, whatever. At least have a play mat. You know, I'm not, so I won't be playing on the bare surface of the table, so I don't feel too bad about it. But then after I got back from the land station and was shuffling up my deck, like I noticed it immediately. It's like the basic lands that I got from the land station that probably came from either draft boosters or set boosters or maybe just land packs in from something else were were lighter in color on the back of the Magic card than the ones that came from my pre-release pack, and I was like, ugh. So I had to go buy sleeves. I mean, thankfully for me, I was planning on getting some anyway, for one of the special for one of the commander decks that two of the commander decks that I got for Christmas. But I'm like, it was just
Well,
annoying.
and I think I showed you on at least a couple, one or two of my cards. The back was even like streaked a bit.
Oh yeah,
Like,
you're right. It was kind of messed up.
yeah, just
I forgot
yeah,
about that until you said it.
yeah. It was kind of it felt sandpapery. So yeah, like I know it's in vogue to dump on wizards lately, and I'm not saying we shouldn't, but I'm not here to like trash them just for the sake of trashing them. But wow, like I was disappointed with the quality. So luckily sleeves, but again, had a great time. Was glad to see Mike. Never actually played Mike, and I probably would
Mm.
have played him after the event, but I had to go get groceries. Oh, and I didn't tell Mike this because it didn't really come up, but I used the map to go to the grocery store, the one that we wanted. Had much greater success at this one versus the one at home. Everything that was out of stock at the one at home, they had here, and milk was like 50 cents or more cheaper. So I'm like, this is great. I'm texting Carrie about prices. She's like, that's amazing. And I start heading home, and she had a pretty good idea where I was. So when she calls, I'm a little less than 20 minutes away, and she's like, are you almost home? I'm like, you should know I'm probably not. Why? And she sounded worried. One of the cats jumped up on the counter as Carrie was trying to feed everybody dinner, swatted at the lid for Apollo's wet food. It's one of those pop tops.
Mm.
Falls to the ground. He goes, "Oh, I think there might be a trace of food on here," and licks it and cuts his tongue, and is
Oh.
now
Ow!
bleeding, and like they're trying to lick it, lick everything, like his paws, his face, everything, and is getting blood everywhere, and is looking like a war veteran. And she's like very concerned, and she's like, of course this happens. Sam was actually out on a youth group trip, so she wasn't there.
Thank goodness.
I was coming home from the pre-release, so this wouldn't happen, if anybody else was there. Not to say it was her fault, but then just by the law of nature, it wouldn't happen. But no, she's on her own, therefore this has to happen. She's trying to Google stuff, and one thing is like, put ice on his tongue. Yeah,
Yeah, because
okay.
that's easy.
Another is like acknowledges that might be difficult. So put some food in your hand and hold an ice cube over it so they'll try to get it, which actually does make some sense. But Carrie doesn't like cold stuff, and she's trying it anyway, and it's melting in her hand, and he's like not wanting to lick the ice because he doesn't want the ice. And so I got home. He was still doing it, but it slowed down. We talked about it. I ran across. There's a Dollar General, like basically across the street from our neighborhood. Grabbed some vanilla ice cream. Came back, and he ate it, and it had stopped bleeding within about a half an hour or so. Everything seemed to be okay, and it was fine the next day. I gave him some food and watched him eat all of it, no blood or anything like that. But now every time I have vanilla ice cream, especially out of that carton, he is like, oh, that's for me. And I'm like, no. He's like, no. So that was my little after pre-release story. And so because I knew I was going to go get groceries, didn't know anything about the tongue, I did not stick around to play Magic with Mike. I like to think I would have won, but I don't think so because Mike faced the only opponent that beat me, and well, I'll let him tell his story.
Yeah. So when I was opening my cards, I was pretty impressed because I was opening just what seemed like a bunch of cool and good stuff. Like I had multiple multi-rare booster packs in there because of getting some fancy version of a card. Like my pre-release promo was Skrelv, the legendary Might. My I got a shiny Blackcleave Cliffs. I got a fancy treatment green white Fastland. Um, I got a fancy treatment slow bad. I got that mythic dragon who takes random cards out of your graveyard and can let you recast something. So I'm like, oh wow, this is nuts.
You said something to the effect of, this doesn't look like this looks like somebody else's pool or something,
Yeah, I see other
Yeah.
people open these things
Yeah.
at pre-releases
Yeah.
all the time, but it's never me.
Yeah.
But when I
His
was like,
pool, I will
yeah,
tell you, his pool looked, at least at face value, looked redonkulous. It really
yeah.
did.
But then when I had everything sorted out and was looking at like what I had in each color and taking another look at those rares I opened, I'm like, okay, several of these are good and constructed, but not so hot here. What do I actually have to work with? Um, so I ended up playing red green with just a bunch of common and uncommon bombs on like 4, 5, and 6, and it felt really good. It looked really good, and it played really good. I went 3-1 also. Um, one one particular card that was really good for me, and it was good that I drew it a lot. Was, and I don't have the names in my head. And I don't have notes in front of me. Is a creature that costs it's a red creature. It's common. Costs 4 and a red for a 4/5 that enters with 2 oil counters, and you can remove an oil counter from it to give something haste until end of turn. And this is really good because, for 5 mana, you get a 4/5. It can give itself haste, and then it still has an oil counter left to give something else haste. Like, that card came up a lot, and it was good every single time. And it was really good if it lived long enough to give my follow-up big creature haste, which was often, and I got 2 of these. It was an uncommon, don't remember the name again, but it costs 4, a green and a red, for a 5/5 with vigilance that costs 1 less for each creature you control with an oil counter on it. And when it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each creature your opponents control.
And they can't block this turn or something, right? So,
No,
or is it just straight up just deal
no,
one
that's just
each?
1 damage.
Okay.
There is a spell that I also got 1 copy of, and I was able to use it to end the game. It's 3 and a red. It's a sorcery. It deals 1 damage to all your opponent's creatures, and they can't block this turn.
The one that you were discussing that gets cheaper is called Cinder/Ravager. I also had a copy of it. I thought about it, but then I was not in green or red. So,
Yeah, well,
but it's
it's fair.
awesome.
It's fair reason. Yeah, it is awesome.
The red creature you mentioned that with the oil counter that can give things haste, I did not get, and I was not in red, but was very good. And there was one point where I killed an opponent's and then brought it back with my black recursion, my zombify,
Uh-huh.
and it was kind of hilarious. Emergence. That opponent also had that red card, and he had a an obliterator, and he told me his dream was to play the red card and then play the obliterator and give it haste. And luckily,
That,
he didn't get to do that. But
that's a tall order in
yeah. Anyway,
limited
please continue.
to come up with
Back to the
4
match.
black mana the next turn.
Living the dream, man. I mean,
Oh yeah,
shoot for the stars.
it's not impossible.
Maybe his emotions had an echo.
Maybe.
So much space.
Uh, um, but yeah, I did pretty well. My first opponent was a cool guy. It was a good game. It's round 1. People are still filling out their decks. Afterward, we talked about what he had afterwards, and he might have put one too many. He might have been trying to play a third color a little too hard in his deck just because of some of the stuff he opened. So he thumbed through it and made some changes after we were done. But the second opponent, my second opponent, really showed me that maybe I did kind of underestimate uh, what toxic could do, and like how quickly it could operate and how reliable it could be. Because that second round was 3 games. I'm pretty sure I lost to poison in the game that I lost, and I was extremely close to losing to poison in the third game. It was actually pretty stressful, and part of that was because he had drawn the black green something rot priest, I think it is, that has it's a 1/3 with toxic 2, and then whenever one of your other toxic creatures deals combat damage to a player, they get another poison counter. So it's toxic lord, and then it also has an activated ability that can give a toxic creature death touch until end of turn. Um, but yeah, so that was putting me in some major danger. Uh, there was a turn when I was thankfully able to turn it around, but I almost made a mistake that would make me lose because my opponent was just splashing some stuff, and the Rot Priest was one of the splashes. The opponent was in black and white mostly. Yeah, black and white poison, and they even had Skrull's Hive. That was pretty cool. Um, but they played the Rot Priest off the back of a Phyrexian Atlas, and I was holding the spell that costs 1 red and destroys an artifact, and if it was yours, you get 3 goblins. I was holding that, and I really wanted to destroy the Atlas because I didn't want my opponent to be able to give the toxic creatures Death Touch and just invalidate the kind of defenses I was trying to set up to not lose. But then, finally, after thinking through it for a little bit, I realized that if I did that, my opponent had a play where I was just going to die to poison on the swing back the next turn, no matter what I did. So I had to destroy my own uh, Dragon Glider, whatever it was, equipment. I cannot remember names. Oh, I got one of those. That was awesome. The one that costs 3 red and has the 4 Mirrodin, and it gives the equipped creature +2/+2 and flying and haste. That was cool. So I had to use that spell to destroy my own piece of equipment to give me the 3 goblins so I'd have enough board presence to not just up and lose. And I was able to, scrape through the next few turns to finally win that game. It was tough. Brian, I think you saw the end of that one.
Think so.
Did you see the turn where I had to decide to destroy my equipment or not? Were you not
I don't
there
think I
yet?
saw that. No.
Okay, yeah. Um, but yeah, so that game showed me that Toxic had more potential to really put the pressure on than I had thought to begin with, especially backed up by the little proliferate bonus that you get on various cards here and there. The third round, my opponent was the person Brian mentioned that he'd lost to.
Yep.
That was a tough match. It also went to 3 games, and he was playing black green and also putting pressure on me on another angle with Toxic and backed up by proliferate. But the giant creatures that I would draw, as the game went on, helped me out a lot and did the work to finish the game and get me there. But the big expensive creatures were my downfall in the last round because my last round opponent was just too fast for me. Like the first game, he opened up with the little 1/2 flyer with vigilance, and then a couple turns later, the followed up with the creature that can turn one of your artifacts into a 4/4 as long as it's on the battlefield.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, so that was an incredibly fast clock, and um, in that first game, my opponent made a mistake that almost turned it around for me. It looked like it was about to, but it ended up not working out. He played the new Wanderer Planeswalker. And, you can do the ultimate ability right away with her, where you choose a creature for each player, and then they'll have to sacrifice the rest.
Yeah.
But he didn't read it closely enough, so he plays it, and he points at one of my creatures like, okay, you got to keep that creature, you got to sacrifice the rest. And I asked him, okay, which of your creatures are you choosing? And he's like, what? I just asked him, which of your creatures are you choosing? And he looks down. He's like, each player. Well, I did it.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I mean, it's already dumb enough that you
Mhm.
get to pick. If it was just one-sided, then no. No.
Hell no.
And just something about the comedy of the moment. Like I let out a little laugh, like, huh? And I felt bad about it later. So I'm like, I don't want to be laughing at people when they make a mistake. But I just couldn't help it for some reason.
It's a
Um,
pre-release.
yeah. But I almost felt like I had a chance to turn that game around, but it didn't work out. The second game, I was able to get my big creatures and trounce my opponent. But the third game, my big creatures were just too slow for me. Just too slow for the smaller creatures that he was able to start with. He was able to get a lot of damage from That one creature costs a white and one. It's a 2/1 with lifelink, and it gets +1/+1 until end of turn whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control. Like there were a lot of creatures in his deck that were just artifact creatures. He was in blue white, and I think they just have a lot. Um, and he was able to string so many together and hit in really big chunks with that 2-drop. And if I had done something a little different and held back because when I saw my opening hand, I'm like, well, it could be a little slow, but these are some really good big creatures, and I'll just count on drawing one or two things on 2, 3, or 4, and I'll be okay. But I didn't draw one or two things on 2, 3, or 4. It's like the best I could come up with was like a 1-drop that I was just attacking with, because I didn't know what else to do with it, and I didn't feel like blocking with it right yet. But I probably should have taken one of those turns off and held back and chump blocked with it and given myself some more time. But oh well. But yeah, I went 3-1, won some packs, felt real good. It was fun. Felt like I was still good at the game, so that's always nice to get reinforced.
Yeah, since we don't play as often as we used to, so
Mm-hmm.
cool.
But yeah, I really love that common haste giving creature. Awesome.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Nice.
Yeah, when we do previews, we focus on the rares and the mythics, and I think rightfully so. And those are the cards we're more likely to use when we build commander decks and things like that. But nothing like a limited event to really make you go, "Oh yeah, a 3/2 for 2, that's ridiculous."
It is.
But a good time was had by all.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
Dirk,
my
you
adventures
alive?
afterwards was just trying to find a place to go out and have dinner. Like first we tried some places nearby on Wendover, but there was some kind of massive power outage. and, and
Really?
like yeah, there was some kind of massive power outage, and like so many of the big restaurants on one side of Wendover near where we live were just dark. Like just completely dark. It's like, well, and other places we went to was like, it'll be like an hour and a half wait. It's like, no. So we just went to Jason's Deli.
Buh.
Good way to end the day.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't trust that guy.
You have a point.
Yeah, I don't trust anybody named Jason. They're not to be trusted.
And we don't know anybody like that.
Thank goodness. So hey, Dirk's alive.
Yeah,
Can-
what were you up to?
Can I complain for a second?
Uh-huh.
So I got up during that to go. Oh God. To go to the freezer to get one of these Pedialyte freezer pops. And you know what? I'm gonna send you guys the picture that I took earlier because it's disconcerting. It's so there are 4 flavors. It's a blue raspberry and an orange and something yellow. I don't remember what. And then there's one that's like seaweed colored. Are you seeing that?
Is it supposed to be purple?
It is supposed to be purple, but it is seaweed colored,
Mm-hmm.
and it tastes like grape. But like, Also, those Pedialyte things do not want to freeze. Like, they come in a box, and I was sick, so I just threw the box in the freezer, and I was like, all right, I'll get one out later and eat it. And like multiple hours later, I take it out of the freezer and open up the box, and they're all liquid. And I went, bitch. So I threw them all, like I took them all out of the box and just threw them into the freezer. And was like, okay, I'll get these later. And multiple hours later, I went back, and like 3 of them were frozen. And I was like, really? So I ate one, and then I went to bed. And then the next day, I get up and I'm like, let me check these, and like 5 of them were frozen, and I was like, really? Now they're all frozen. Like when I woke up this morning, I yeah, I think they were all frozen. But like, why? What? And there wasn't any rhyme or reason to which ones froze, and it wasn't like a super chill thing where once you cause a contact point, the freeze emanates from there. No, because I poked every one, and not a one of them froze up. I was like, bitches.
Maybe it's a colligative thing.
Don't, Dirk. This is a family show. You can't say stuff like that.
I don't even know how to use calligraphy anymore.
Colligative.
But what?
It, like why they salt the road. It drops the freezing point. Maybe the stuff that was in it causes it to take longer to freeze.
I mean, yeah, that's my thought as well. But like, I didn't understand the way that they were free. Like you say, it was one here, one there. It's not like in one part of the freezer they were freezing or anything like that. It just seemed kind of random.
It wasn't like particular flavors that were going faster.
No, I thought that too. I'm like, oh, maybe it. No, that's not it either. What? It was just bizarre. Also, Dirk accused me of using a chemistry term earlier.
He did.
I did.
Like, I checked in, Brian checked in, was like, so are we going to do a show? And everyone else was like, yeah, I guess. And I went, I guess I'm the limiting factor here. And Dirk was like, laughed at the chemistry reference. I was like, did I make a chemistry reference?
I was like, yeah, limiting factor.
It's like, okay, I didn't. And when I looked it up, because I figured that's what you meant, I didn't even see chemistry. I saw biology and like ecology. And I was like, like
See,
the
I
limiting
know
factor on populations in a location. And I was like,
I mean,
oh,
that is too. But I've been teaching chemistry this semester, so I have to uh, refamiliarize myself with the chemistry terms. But it's the thing that when you mix like a lot of one thing with a little bit of another, one of them will react all the way, and the other one won't react completely. The one that reacts the whole way is the limiting factor.
yeah. I mean, I was just using it as a, the concept
For what it means.
appropriately. Yeah. And Dirk was like, laughed at the chemistry reference. I'm going, I don't know.
Because
What
it
you're
occurred at
talking about.
school, and so my mind was in that mode, and so when I thought was, you guys are such nerds. You're using chemistry terms. So yeah.
And yeah. So I was like, what'd you say to me, boy? So, so what's up with you, Dirk?
The I was telling the guys the one thing that I've been enjoying recently is um, been watching a YouTube channel called Magic Arcanum, and it's essentially a guy who's about as dorky as we are, and he goes in and talks about like, here is what this set is about, and gives like the story, his take on it. Talking about the stories that Wizards of the Coast publishes, and the card. Uh, was at the bottom of the cards,
Story spotlight.
the story spotlights and all that, to explain here is what's going on. And as I've been listening, watching and listening to what's going on, I'm like, oh, wow, the stories are actually kind of cool. Because just looking at the cards and everything, you just kind of go, okay, I have a general idea of what's going on, but I really just don't have an idea of what's going on. And so him going through the stories and everything actually makes me go, oh, well, that's actually kind of cool. That card makes sense now. I won't say that he's got me like itching to play Magic again, but it has rekindled a little bit of my interest in the card game itself, but unfortunately not enough for me to invest back in Magic, because I have so many cards, like so many boxes of cards that I just have not touched, will not touch, probably ever again, that I really don't want to buy more cards to add to a collection that I'm not going to touch.
Makes
So,
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I can tell you, I used to have a lot more cards of Lord of the Rings, and at some point I was like, I am never going to play this. So Brian ended up with a bigger collection of Lord of the Ring cards
I
because I
did.
essentially was like, hey Brian, Merry Christmas, and I gave him all of those cards.
Well, I thought that was for Hanukkah. Okay.
It's whichever holiday it was, Brian. Whichever
Um,
holiday you want it to be. Um,
I have them saved in a special corner.
in case there's a day it's like, hey Dirk, don't you want to play with these cards at some point? I saved
Or
them
if I
just
ever
for
did, yeah.
you.
They're really neat. I guess that's the question with some of these things. Is the physical, you play them for a long time, but at some point you don't. What do you do with them? So
Um, I also found out that, um, so church does activity uh, boys thing on Wednesdays, and so they do either basketball or they do like board games, stuff like that. Well, apparently a group of them play Magic,
Hmm.
and Trevor has been when he goes, he's like, oh, they play Magic and everything, and I think he sees it, and he's sort of interested in what they're doing. But he doesn't have any cards or anything like that because all the cards are at the house, and right now we're doing our thing. Like our family is in an interesting, weird position right now that makes it difficult for me to go out and do this with them.
Hmm.
Um, but this summer, my hope is that I can go out and reteach Trevor how to play Magic if he wants to play with the guys, and help him build a deck so that way when they play, he can go and actually play cards with them. Of course, all his cards will be old. The newest cards I have is Coldheim. I have a booster box that has not been opened.
Oh wow.
So that is the newest cards I have is Coldheim.
I mean that's not super dark.
No, it's
Dark.
not. It's
Sorry,
not super old.
super old.
Yeah.
Dark.
And then I do have, I think, three commander decks in boxes in their boxes that have not been opened. So he also has the potential of just taking one of those and doing his thing as well. I will say the new set has sort of got me wanting to buy stuff of theirs, so that I could potentially put together a Phyrexian deck. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Hmm.
For a certain value of fun.
Well, Um, but yeah, just one where it's you're going to proliferate, or you're going to, as Mike and Brian were talking about, throw lots of tokens around and make the other person go, dang it, and make them sad.
Yeah, making
So
people sad is what magic does.
it does
I mean, that's accurate. Excuse me.
in more ways than one. But yeah, that's been my thing is kind of getting reintroduced back into Magic after essentially being gone from it for a long time. We read the cards and everything, and we're like, oh, that's cool. That is cool. Yeah, that's cool. And doing all that. But it's kind of like WoW for me right now. The new expansion for World of Warcraft came out, and as cool as it sounds, and as cool as everyone that I've listened to talks about all the fun features, and that it really is a different game than Shadowlands, I really haven't had the interest to go back and play it. And maybe at some point I might just be like, you know what, I'll go back and play just to do this. It might be an expansion or two down the road, but I have been so disappointed by the last couple of expansions. Like Legions was the last really good expansion that I really put tons of time into. I tried to put time into um, Battle for Azeroth and Shadowlands, and it just became, we're trying to bring back the glory of Legion. So bask in this glory that you did, just with a new skin on it, and I lost interest, which is sort of what happened with Magic. Is after a while, it was like I'm gonna go ahead and just save about $250, buy a booster box, buy some commander decks. Yeah, I have all these cards that I'm probably not gonna ever play.
Hmm.
It's sort of what ended up happening, and I got tired of it.
Hmm.
I mean, I think that's going to happen for especially those two examples. You know, anything you do for a super long period of time as you change and the world changes and the game changes.
You know, and that's it's one of those things where I like having the old stuff there. I like playing the new stuff. It's I do realize that over time your preferences do change. And Magic was definitely one of those ones where it was great in college, still great coming out, but as family and time and all those become limiting factors, um, it becomes difficult to enjoy doing that. And one of the things that kept me going was getting to play with you guys, with the decks and everything. And unfortunately, COVID sort of closed the door on that one, and we haven't had a chance to really get back and play as a group since then. So that has also played into my, you know, disinterest in playing Magic. So
Sure. I mean, any game, if you're not able to play it with someone else, your interest in it is going to decrease. I've seen a couple card games come out recently. Most notably, Flesh and Blood, and there's a Digimon card game that seems to be fairly popular right now. And I've thought about looking into both of those. And I mean, I could play with Sam. I'm not saying I couldn't, but um, I'm not looking to invest in something that I don't know that I will enjoy, and I don't know that I will have someone else to enjoy it with. So I definitely get you there.
I cannot for the life of. Oh, wait a minute. I'm streaming. Oh, it was a resub from Kaus underscore Jason, who's one of the few that you probably should trust. Thanks, buddy. What is that? 51 months. I heard my computer make a noise while they're talking, and I'm sitting here going, what was that? What was that? Just this whole time. Yeah, like people keep trying to get me. Brian finally stopped, but a few other people keep trying to get me to play Marvel Snap.
Hmm.
Like, don't you miss
I was tell-
Hearthstone? And I'm like, no.
I was showing it to Mike at the pre-release, not to get him to go in, but
Yeah,
in the
whatever.
latest patch, they actually added the option to play against your friends, and I'm like, none of my friends play, but I still enjoy the game, so I'm not gonna be like, hey Mike.
There's a whole what's in the Discord? What is it? A thread under video games called Marvel Snappage, where a few people are posting their crazy end screens and whatnot, and like I open it up and look at it, and I'm like, that is all gibberish to me. Cool. Apparently, Surfer got nerfed. I don't know what that means, other than Silver Surfer got nerfed, but you know,
Hmm.
And that's a good thing.
apparently.
I feel like it makes
It
intuitive sense
really is.
that they would give Silver Surfer a card that would need to be nerfed.
Yeah, that seems about right, actually. Ow. But yeah, I don't know. I don't miss having a game on my phone that I just reflexively play. I feel like
Hmm.
it's better for me to not have that.
Understandable.
Of course, that means instead that I'm reflexively watching something on the television while I'm sitting on the couch. But you know, that's fine. I've worked through while I've been uh, sick and or feverish and or asleep. I've worked through a lot of just nothing. Like I watched a lot of stand up yesterday because it doesn't matter. All stuff I'd seen before because it doesn't matter if I doze off, and which I did. I don't remember I was going somewhere with that, but oh yeah, card games and whatnot. But yeah, I don't. Where did this come from? Dirk. That's where it came from. With a game you play for a very long time. Like I'm fairly certain, as a Magic player, I'm basically done unless something amazing happens. Like who knows? Maybe the uh, Tolkien set will drag me back in or something. But But I just have zero urge to shuffle cards at all. And then I don't miss, like I said, the digital thing with Hearthstone at all. I'm not sure. Both of these companies are awful, and I wonder if like some of my capitalistic ethics are contributing to how much I just don't care about either of these things anymore.
Maybe.
Because like I don't know. But then I haven't had any interest in filling that void either. Like there are a bunch of people who were Magic players who jumped over onto Flesh and Blood with both feet, and I've still never even seen a Flesh and Blood card that I'm aware of. So I'm like, all right, y'all have fun. I keep seeing things about Fab, and I'm like, the hell is Fab? Oh, okay, right. They're like, oh, look at the Fab Pro Tour is playing more than the Magic Pro Tour. I'm like, that means that game will probably die faster. Like, I don't know, is Flesh and Blood even still a thing? Chat?
Yeah, still.
Okay.
It seems to me that it's still very popular.
Okay, good.
I remember when I was looking around for the Warhammer Commander decks, I contacted people at Easy Gaming, and they said they don't even do Magic anymore. Like they just do Yu-Gi-Oh and Flesh and Blood and other stuff like that.
Makes sense. I don't know.
I mean, going
trips.
to pre-releases, I still enjoy. I think I told you guys after I went to, it wasn't Brothers War, but it would have been Dominaria United.
Yeah.
Probably reinvigorated me toward the game more than I had in months, if not years. Um, and I actually even started thinking, okay, if I was going to go to a constructed game, what would that even look like, and da da da. And then it kind of petered out just due to lack of any sort of follow up on my part. I'm absolutely not blaming anybody else, but because I wasn't playing on a consistent basis. A couple months go by and I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't play anymore. I mean, new pre-release and that's cool, but as far as any other time. So
Yeah. The part that trips me out though is the lack of me wanting to fill that void with something similar. Like that's the part that feels wrong to my brain. It's like, oh, I don't have Hearthstone. Like when I didn't have Hearthstone, I jumped to well, I guess Underlords came and went while I was still playing Hearthstone. But I haven't had. Oh, Teamfight Tactics. There we go. After I stopped playing Hearthstone, I tried to latch on to Teamfight Tactics as something else, but Teamfight Tactics is not Chewie's brain friendly. So I, you know, dropped that relatively quickly once a new season passed, and I was like, I have to relearn all this crap again. No, like, But after that, I haven't had any. Yeah, I haven't had any more urges to have a game to play. It's very strange. Hey, did you guys know that after years, literal years of being rumored to be in the next Nintendo Direct, Metroid Prime Remastered was finally announced and released?
Oh, cool.
Announced and released.
Yeah, it's available
pretty quick turnaround.
digitally during the Nintendo Direct. They're like, hey, and it's available right now. And nobody in the Discord mentioned it. And I saw it in like a comment um, in on Facebook, and I went, wait, is that real? Because for literal years, plural, oh, I bet Metroid Prime Remastered is going to be in the next Direct, and then it wasn't. To the point where it became a joke. Like, Nintendo fans were like, oh, you think it'll be Prime Remastered?
Mm-hmm.
It
You know, it's like
became
Half-Life 3.
I was gonna say, Half-Life 3, or even for a long time there, Half-Life 2, or what was the
Freaking
Duke
Duke
Nukem game
Nukem,
that never?
yeah.
Yeah,
Which one? It doesn't matter. But
doesn't matter. Probably shouldn't have come out in the first place.
yeah, it was way
But
better as a meme than it was as a video game.
yeah,
But yeah, it just dropped, and they were like, and it's available now, and it comes out in physical form. I don't know, in a few days or something. And I was like, is this y'all what? And like, I didn't, because I had been feverish and out of it, and not scrolling through Twitter. I didn't get to see the freak out about it. If there even was a freak out about it, which there should have been, because this is a thing that people have wanted forever. And then in the Discord, casually, a pinball mentioned, oh yeah, and they're bringing the 2 Zelda Oracle games, and Minish Cap's already there. And I'm like, what? But that's only on the Switch Online thing, which doesn't count. I really wish that they would release those mobile Zelda games as like a collection, which I know they'll never do because they're bastards. But I've been saying this for like, I don't know, 5 or 6, 7 years now. If they would release all of that on whatever current hardware is,
Yeah.
as like a package, I would buy it and stream that. But they're never gonna, so it looks like I'm just gonna emulate. Ha ha. And the Game Boy Advance tier of the Switch Online is the expensive version. Like, the cheap version gets you Nintendo and Super Nintendo, and I think, was that it? I can't remember. But the expensive version gets you 64 and now Game Boy Advance. And I'm like, that's great. Just good job, y'all. Because it's a service that, instead of making us rebuy it, every time a new system comes out,
Yeah.
and then, oops, they shut down the store. Now we got to rebuy it on the next system. They figured out they can suck more money out of us by just charging us a monthly fee for the option to play these games until they don't want us to play them anymore, and they remove them. And I'm like,
I keep feeding the machine.
I guess.
in related news, I heard a little while ago that Square has finally decided that it likes money and is going to be releasing the Pixel remasters on platforms.
Yeah, I meant to tell
So
you about that at some point recently.
seems like a no-brainer, but I would have thought it was a no-brainer, a while ago. So
Yeah, because they were initially only on PC, right?
yeah, that's where they've been.
Wait, what? Dirk said nope?
That's correct.
Oh.
I say, yep.
And yeah, they're going to be on the Switch and the PS4 now at some point. If they're not already, I don't know.
I don't think they are yet, but I think it's relatively soon.
All 6 are
yeah.
coming to PlayStation and Switch next year, and that was in December. So,
Notice Microsoft is not in that.
well, it's already on Steam, so, which means nothing, I don't think. Actually, never mind. Oh, coming spring 2023. They'll be on PS4 and Switch.
But just because it's 70 degrees outside doesn't mean it's actually spring yet, since it's February.
Yeah, we're supposed to get snow in like 2 or 3 days. What? Excuse me. It says available now on Steam, App Store, Google Play, and the Amazon App Store. So I guess they're on Steam and on mobile platforms. That I didn't know.
That's neat.
Because I don't, play games on my phone. Huh, I didn't know that. Yeah, at some point, once I finish 7 Remaster on hard, I'm going to pick those up and start going. I got 1 and 2 already, thanks to the generosity of a couple of people, so that'll be fun. Oh man, Final Fantasy VII Remake on hard is so good.
Nice. Glad you're enjoying it.
Like, the
Where
fact
have
that
you
it's a
gotten to?
completely different game. Like, obviously the story and all the fights and whatnot are the same, but the mechanics become so completely different. By the end, the last time I streamed it, I did chapter 8, I think. Whatever chapter is right before Wall Market. And I was basically out of MP at the end of the chapter and had no idea how to get back. Like, whatever big fight there towards the end drained my magic points. And you can't use items at all. And when you sit on a bench, you only get HP back. And I'm like, how? So I just had to make it up as I went along for the rest of that chapter. Luckily, when you cross to a new chapter, it refills everything. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. No, the resource management on hard is for real.
So the items just not drop anymore?
Oh, no, there's still items freaking everywhere. You just can't use them, which is freaking stupid.
That's something that I'm like...
Like, there's still treasure chests everywhere. And it's like, oh, you got a Tuft of Phoenix down. I'm like, oh, why don't you eat my ass?
Yeah.
Because when someone dies, guess what you can't do? Hit him in the face with a pillow stuffed with Phoenix down. That's what I always assume that Phoenix down is. It's a pillow stuffed with Phoenix feathers. Just pop someone in the face with. But, yeah, so I don't remember what the fight was. But I used a lot of MP. It was all the side quests in Aerith's town. All of the fights there and whatnot. They just gradually wore me down because it's just Cloud and Aerith, and Aerith kind of sucks. So, yeah, I kept having to raise his dumb ass because Cloud takes too much damage, and then run around as Aerith until she could heal him too, and half the time by then he was down again, so I had to wait until she had 2 AP bars full, and then use a raise and a heal, and that's used up so much of her MP. So, yeah.
Just wait for the house.
I am looking forward to the house, because I never got to play the house properly the first go through, because I think I only had 1 element on anybody for that fight.
You have to do it the right way this time.
Yeah. So I know it's gonna suck, but I'm looking forward to it.
You're looking forward to it now. When you get to like the 10th try, you might feel a little differently.
Possibly, yeah. I'm so mad, Brian. I beat the Malboro, but I didn't assess the Malboro, so that's missing. I assessed it the first time I got to it, and I think the second time. But the time I actually beat it, I didn't assess it, so it's not in my assess list. I was like, and I'm missing that and like the dragon thing at the very end. Apparently, I didn't assess it the time I beat it either. So I was like, ugh. That's all I'm missing from the list of things to assess.
Is there any way to go back and recover that through some kind of side quest?
Yeah, I can. The Malboro is the final fight in one of the combat simulator runs, so I could just do it again. But
You just have to get back to the combat simulator.
yeah, which I mean, isn't that at the beginning of one of the chapters or close to it? Like
I think
like
so.
right at the end. So I
Yeah.
could jump to that chapter and go back in and do it, but can I
When
say
I
that one more
started
time?
hard, I thought I was when I started hard, I thought I would be jumping all over the place, and I basically just played straight through again, just to make sure I was getting the full experience. And the thing was, I don't always re. I feel like lately, I have not replayed RPGs the way I used to. I played 4/2 a million times, uh 3/6 a million times. When I got 5, I did it a couple different ways. The problem I have with RPGs now is they don't make you make choices. So many RPGs, they're just like, oh, you didn't get to do this one thing, just go back and, access this chapter from earlier or whatever. There was a Kingdom Hearts game on the DS. Um, it was
that
not Chain of
was
Memories. It was 368 over
358 days over 2.
yeah.
Why do
And
I
the
know
whole
that
game
and you don't? I hate you.
because it's been a while since I played. But that whole game is literally broken up into like individual days, scenarios, and by the time you get to the end, if you want to replay anything, you can replay it, and that's great. But it gives me no reason to ever start over, like ever, because the whole game is a big, big time investment. By the time I will have played through everything and gotten through everything, I will have experienced everything over and over again. So it was really interesting to me that with Final Fantasy VII Remake, not only was I not tired of the story, and there were one or two scenes that I did skip the scene, but for most of it, I watched the whole thing again and played through the whole game again, and I loved it. So I didn't actually.
Oh, see, I'm not
I'm
doing
trying
that.
to.
I'm definitely skip. Once I realize, wait, I'm watching a cutscene. Skip.
There were some. I think the motorcycle chapter, I ended up skipping most of that one. It was fun, but like the plate and all that, I definitely did every moment of that again. So
Okay, yeah, that I can. I'm probably gonna watch that. If for
yeah,
no other reason than to see. I know it's spelled Kate Sith, but apparently it's pronounced in a completely different way. It's like Kaishi or something like that is how you say that, which I just found out like a few months ago.
really,
But he's
it'll
there
always
for like
be
a split second. You're like, what was that? What?
yeah,
And it's gone.
yeah.
What are they? They sneak some Gaelic in there or
It
something?
is, yeah, it's Gaelic.
Okay.
Uh, Cat She is how you pronounce it. Thank you, Google. But it's spelled Cait Sith. You know, like
Yeah,
Star
it's
Wars.
spelled Kate Sith. Yeah.
But yeah, apparently, I can't wait until this character gets into the game so I can hear how they choose to pronounce it because that'll be funny. But apparently, it's a malevolent ghost-like cat that has all black fur aside from a small white spot on its chest and supposedly haunts the Scottish Highlands. Thank you, Google. Huh. Okay. Anyway, which is what that character looks like, except for the giant stuffed Moogle that he rides around on. Hmm. Oh man, so I finished monkeys. I finished Doom 3 a while back,
Mm-hmm.
and thank goodness. I decided not to dive into the DLC and instead to just move on with my life. Because Doom 3 was fine, but not like, let's do more Doom 3 fine, you know?
Right.
And rather than start on the new Doom, I decided to, do Resident Evil 4. But, so I've started Resident Evil 4, and I still love it. I finished Hollow Knight. I didn't complete Hollow Knight, because that's for crazy people. But I did finish Hollow Knight, at least as much as I'm probably going to end up doing. I might try to go in and take out Nightmare Grim, because he's a bastard, but I don't know. That makes my parts hurt. And that was awesome. And then as a treat, so on Saturday, when did you guys go to the pre-release?
Saturday.
12:30.
Not what time, what day?
Saturday.
Well,
Okay.
you said Saturday, and then you kind of okay. So
yeah, so while you guys were at the pre-release, I was doing a marathon. Well, so the previous Saturday, I did a marathon stream for like 7.5 hours of I don't remember what. I started with something, and then I switched over to something else. I don't remember now. I think I started with Hollow Knight
Mm-hmm.
and played a bunch of it, and then no, I finished with Hollow Knight. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I was gonna do it again the next Saturday, which was this Saturday that just happened, and so I played. Yeah, I played a bunch of Resident Evil 4, and right at the point where I was like, okay, I'm gonna switch games to something else. What y'all want to see? And I had one response from chat, which was, I like Resident Evil 4. I'm like, yeah, but I'm done with Resident Evil 4. My phone lit up, and it was Amanda, who's like, hey, I know you're streaming, but you want to have Dawn 1 with me and the kid? And I was like, yes. So I was like, or what I could do is stop streaming, go have Mexican food, and then come back and do a second stream. And chat was like, oh, that sounds like a good call. So I went and had Mexican food with the man and the kid at Don One, and it was glorious because it was Don One. That's redundant.
Mm-hmm.
See, Mike knows.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I came back and I started Spider-Man. And oh my god, I played Resident Evil for like 3.5 hours. I played Spider-Man for 5.
Spider-Man is awesome, and I say that as someone that has started and stopped it more than once, and finds it very tough. But it's not for lack of wanting to play; it's for lack of time to play. But it's an awesome game.
Like the tutorial is taking down freaking Kingpin. I was like,
Yeah.
huh? So that was
What
neat.
what difficulty are you playing it on?
Whatever normal difficulty is, I don't know.
First time I played it, the tutorial like beat me up. Like there were some sections that I really struggled with before I could get a handle on the combat, and I died a couple times. I'm like, still a tutorial, right? So you probably did better at it than I did.
I mean, yeah, I took him down relatively easily, but like, did you ever play the Arkham games?
No.
Ah, see, that's probably why I've got a pretty insane edge because I played the first two Arkham games multiple times, and it's essentially Arkham Combat modified for Spider-Man.
Hmm.
Yeah, like after I played it for 5 hours, I made a nice long Twitter thread about my initial thoughts on this game. Cause okay, however long the PS4 was out, I did not care about a PS4 in the slightest. There were two games that made me think about maybe potentially trying to acquire one at some point. Those two games were Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is on PC now, and Spider-Man, which is on PC now. So I feel glad that I didn't, do that. But while it was on sale and like the winter thing, Scott just randomly sent me Spider-Man. He's like, "Here, Merry Christmas, yo." And I was like, "Huh, huh, huh, huh." And I decided, you know what, screw it, I want to play this game. And I did. And yeah. Like the Arkham, okay, Mike, you played the Arkham games, right? Or at least one of them or something?
I've watched you play.
Okay. And Dirk? Did you ever
Seen
play?
the Arkham? I've seen the Arkham games played, but I haven't played them myself.
Man, and these are the people I call friends. But like, so,
Joke's on you.
oh, they're not my friends. So the Arkham combat is much more, brutal and visceral and, kick this guy in the face and then break this guy's arm and then take this guy's weapon and smash him in the head with it, and then pick this guy up and throw him at them. And he's got a gun, and so you grapple him over to you and you punch him in the face. Whereas Spider-Man is much more, thwip, thwip, knock you up into the air combo, come back down, throw you over there, hit you with a web, blah, blah, blah. And the buttons are slightly different. Like the counter button is actually the go over there button.
Uh-huh.
And the roll button is the counter button. And it's taken me a hot minute to get used to that.
Sort of like Devil May Cry.
I don't know. I've actually never played a
hit
Devil
you,
May
knock you
Cry.
into the air, and try and see if I can keep you in the air as long as possible.
Not as long as possible, but it's got elements of that sort of combat thing in it. Yeah. Uh, and then it's like the open world is. So the problem that I have with open world games now that I have limited time and I'm streaming is the thing that I loved about open world games before I started streaming and I had unlimited free time, which is there's so much crap to do that it's really hard to focus on anything because what's over there? Oh, hey, there's a thing that's right next to me. Oh, hey, what else?
What's this do?
Yeah, hey, I'm trying to get over there, but there's a thing on the map right next to me. Let's go see what that is. And oh, there's a random crime. But the way it works in Spider-Man is that when you track down collectibles and find landmarks to take pictures of, which is just my favorite thing, like they put love into it. Like when you find out the main collectible is the backpacks that Pete has webbed up over the city over the years and forgotten about, which I don't even want to think about what his backpack freaking budget was like with his broke ass. But each backpack has a thing in it. Like a little, oh, here's a little bit of fan service or nostalgia or world building or whatever. And when you open it up and look at it, Peter has a few like lines out loud that he'll say about it. And there's a little 3D model, that you can spin around and look at. And I'm like, wow. Because, like, I found his old underarm webs in one backpack. And I found, like, a paper he wrote that had something written on it by Professor Warren, which is all fan service because Professor Warren is the guy who was the Jackal, who is the guy who made the spider clone. So that's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And each one, like you could tell it was lovingly crafted by someone who loves them some Spider-Man. And then the landmarks are either like New York landmarks like Times Square and Empire State Building or whatever. And then there's like comic landmarks like Josie's Bar where Daredevil hangs out, after work as a lawyer, not after work as a Daredevil. Although probably that too. And stuff like that. And it's just fascinating to me. But the way it works is when you do these things, you fight the random crimes and you collect the landmarks and you beat the and you collect the backpacks, is you get little like essentially currencies of each type, and you use those to get new suits and weapon upgrades or gadget upgrades rather, and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, so they've taken all of the, stuff in open world games that can turn into a slog and made it, like, tied it intimately to upgrades and stuff. So now instead of it feeling like a slog or feeling like, oh, I should be doing the story mission instead I'm out here dicking around, it feels like it all comes together in one thing thus far. I'm sure it'll turn into a slog later when I'm like, oh my god, I just need one more crime. Can a crime freaking happen, please? Jesus Christ. But I like the way it's all integrated and it doesn't just feel like,
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of unconnected crap is happening. Although that does still happen because it's an open world game. It's like, I better get over to the office quick. And then I accidentally found a side mission that had to happen at night, so suddenly it was dark. And I was like, wait.
Priorities.
And then I finally got to the story mission. I was like, well, I guess I'm a day late. But no, because I guess that was a flashback. Don't think about it too hard or blow shit out of your nose. But yeah, and then when Mom came by on Sunday to bring me some leftovers, I was like, oh, because I'd been telling her about Spider-Man, and Mom loves Spider-Man. So I was like, oh my god, Mom, you want to see Spider-Man? She said, sure. So I opened it up, and I was showing her swinging. Oh my god, swinging in this game is just pure joy. But anyway, I showed her, swinging around, and how Spider-Man can like high five people on the street, and I got an achievement for that randomly, one of those beginner achievements. It's like, yeah, interact with like 10 citizens. I was like, oh, huh. And then I showed her. I happened to be close to Josie's bar as a landmark, so I went and found it. I was like, in the chat, they told me that Franklin and Nelson, which is, you know, Franklin and Nelson, Jesus Christ, Nelson and Murdoch, which is Daredevil's law firm, was right around the corner. So I landed in front of Josie's office and just sort of ran around the corner, and there it was. There's a little plate that said, you know, Nelson and Murdoch, and I went, sweet, and I took a picture, because that's what you do in the game. And it popped up a thing that said 1 out of 50 hidden photo ops found. And I was like, oh my God. And then I took a super sweet selfie of Spider-Man posing in front of the Franklin. Why do I keep saying that? His name is Franklin Nelson. That's why I keep saying that. But in front of the Nelson and Murdoch sign. And I posted it on Twitter and Instagram and whatnot because it made me happy. Because it was a very, like, super sweet find that wasn't marked on the map and informed me that, oh yeah, by the way, there's 49 more of these and the city is not small, so I don't know how I'm gonna do all that, but
Very gradually.
exactly. But yeah, I'm very excited to play more of that, although I still need to finish Resident Evil 4 before the freaking remake comes out next month. Whew. Now I've gotten myself tired by getting all excited. But so yeah, that's what I'm streaming these days is Final Fantasy VII Remake on hard, Resident Evil 4, and Spider-Man. And once I finish with Resident Evil 4, I gotta finish Inscription, and I'll probably pick up either New Doom or oh god, that hiccup hurt. New Doom or yeah, probably just New Doom. So I'm very excited to play New Doom because, you know, I don't know what else to call it because I refuse to call it Doom 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hollow Knight made me sad so many times. Like, no spoilers, but every time you complete a thing that's like a game-long thing, and then you get to the end, and it's like, oh, by the way, and it gives you a big middle finger. And I'm like, thanks, game. That's exactly what I needed right now. Appreciate you. Like, you get help from a couple characters at a couple points, and like gradually everybody leaves or dies or disappears or is destroyed, or like it's all just a bummer. Which I get, I think is the point, but like, damn. And it's entirely possible that you'll never experience most of that, because I think most of that is not, you know, stuff that you have to finish to get through the game. So, yeah. Because I was determined to get as close to the 112% as I could. I ended up at 108, by the way. I'm going to try to go through the Pantheon challenges at some point just because they're there. I got through the first one with my... So yeah, you have to go through... There's these challenges where it's like a boss gauntlet of some number of bosses. And you can choose to lock one or more of your abilities. So like you can lock your nail, which is your sword. So you'll do the minimum amount of sword damage, which, you know, in theory encourages you to build like a magic build or a summoner build where you've got all a bunch of critters that are attacking enemies for you. And you can lock your health, so where I assume you only take a hit or two or something. You can lock your charms, so you can't use any charms, which sounds awful. Or maybe it's just one charm. I don't actually know. I haven't tried it yet. The one I did the first challenge with my... I don't know what it's called, with my mana locked. So you only get like half of a charge of mana. So you get like one spell, which you've got like a fireball or an upward blast or a heal, and that's all you get until you refill it by hitting things. And yeah, that was brutal, but I was bound and determined to get through it with my mana locked because damn it, I wanted to try it. And it made the challenge fun and also super frustrating, but I was doing it to myself, so I was mad at me, not at the game, you know? But yeah. And you have to beat each, there's 3 challenges, I think, and you have to beat each one, it looks like, at some point with all 4 of those. I don't think all 4 at once. I think you can just do each one 4 times with 4 different builds. I think, again, I'm not an expert by any means on how Hollow Knight works. The only reason I got to 108% is because I was like, all right, chat, I freaking give up. Where do I go now? I'm missing 3 charms. Just tell me where they are, because I'll just look it up anyway. So it's the same thing. Just tell me where to go. And they wouldn't tell me exactly where to go, but they'd be like, go to this place. All right. No, don't go up. All right. And then eventually I'd find, oh, here it is. Cool, thanks. So...
Really, I am glad that you are feeling better and have been able to do this. I am going to go ahead and sign off.
Yeah,
So,
I'm about. I think this last bout of excitement was too much.
well, there you go. But I'm glad you enjoyed Hollow Knight. So, and Final Fantasy VII Remake and Spider-Man and all that good stuff.
Oh my God, Spider-Man's so good.
And you know too, it's Mike. It was great to see you on Saturday. Dirk, it's good to hear your voice. Mike, I'll see you online on Saturday.
Yes.
Great.
I like the way it took him that time to figure out you were talking to him. Even though you said his name first, he's like, Mike, who the hell is Mike?
Well, you have
So
a
you
wonderful
guys-
night.
You guys have a great night.
Yeah,
I
night,
will
B.
talk at you later. Good night.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you. Although, yeah,
I'm also gonna head out as well. It's beyond my bedtime.
yeah, I think we should stop because I think I need to go sit on the couch and probably doze off. Ooh, maybe I should go to bed.
Ooh.
What a novel
might be.
concept.
Might be safe for that.
Like I said, I'm gonna head on. Everyone have a wonderful night, okay?
Night,
so.
Zerk. Yeah. How come everybody always leaves us, Mike? Do we smell funny?
Must be pretty bad over the internet.
Maybe their emotions had an echo. So much space. Seriously, dude, that felt so freaking deep whenever it would pop into my head.
Mhm.
It's laying in my bed, I'm like, man, my bedroom's huge. And then I'd have to jump up and run to the freaking bathroom. But I'm so glad to be past the worst part of this. The fact that I ate food and that gave me energy again enough to do this has just been glorious. I also realized, by the way, when I got up earlier to go get the freezer pop, that is the only time, other than having, to puke or poop, that I have walked with purpose since, early in the wee hours of Tuesday morning.
Mhm.
Like, I didn't, walk quickly, but I walked out there, got a freezer pop, cut it open, and walked back in here, and I was like, wow, I didn't, meander or stagger against the wall or take my time, to make sure I made it. I just walked out there and then walked back, which is awesome. Because, even earlier when I got out of the shower and, I got tired drying myself off, I wrapped a towel around me and, sort of staggered to my bedroom where I sat down on the bed and went, and when, mom showed up with food, I got up and slowly made my way across the room. So yeah, feels good, man. But anyway, so you have anything else to add there, Mr. Sir, or should we just call it?
No, I don't have anything worthwhile.
Fair enough. Oh no, there is one more thing we gotta
Hmm?
do. I gotta do the Patreon thing.
Oh, right.
So hey, yeah, you can Okay, brain, come on, focus. Which link do I click on? This one. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, you can go to patreon.com. Wow, I'm fading fast. You could go to
I
patreon.com
can hear it happening.
slash the mana pool and become a lifeguard. You know what? You know the deal. I'm just gonna thank people. So thank you to, I don't know what I just clicked on. Is this still them? This is still them. To Andrew Odie, ALK Alters. Nope, hang on. Connor Kennedy. I'm having serious trouble. Okay, let me lean forward. Mr. Dr. Lewis, Jason Doan, Pinball Witch, Casey, Cody Buckowing, Andrew Hunt, Jason Kaus. Look at all these Jasons you can trust. It's weird. Timu Hellas Haru. Some guy named Michael who doesn't know when you're talking to him. Jake Jansons, John Parker, Scuzzo, Kimaho, and Al. Yay. So thank you all, lifeguards and all the lifeguards and all the listeners and all the everybody. I love you all. I'm so happy to be alive. And my voice fade. That's because I leaned forward away from the microphone, I think, to focus on the list of patrons. Sorry about that. I didn't realize I'd gotten that far from the mic. Could you still hear me, Mike?
I could.
Okay, good. So yeah, we're gonna go now, and I'm gonna either go sit on the couch or go straight to bed, which means I'm gonna go sit on the couch. So thank you so much for joining us for this fairly last minute just chatting stream, because I wasn't aware I was gonna make it until what, at like 5:30, 6 o'clock. I was like, I think I can do it, and look at me, I did it. I'm very proud of me.
Yeah.
So yeah, y'all have a good night, and I have no idea if I'm gonna be able to stream anything tomorrow night. Let's just take this a day at a time. Who's honking outside in the parking lot at 10:20 at night? I'll go out there and smack somebody, or I would if I wasn't dead. So that scared me. Just honk. I'm like, what time is it? Stop it. Okay, right. Going now. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you all so very much for joining us, and wash your hands.